Once I got comfortable having street epistemology conversations, I started talking about it at my workplace. And as part of that, I posted a message soliciting conversations with anybody who might be interested in exploring their metacognition about a belief they held. Angela responded with interest, so we scheduled a video call. We spent some time getting to know each other and talking about work. And then we had the following conversation about infertility care and why it was important to her. My name is Nick, and this is Conversations on the Coast. We just have 30 minutes, so let
Sure.
me tell you a little bit about street epistemology, and then we can jump into a conversation. Not that we're not already having a conversation.
Sure.
But so what street epistemology is about is looking at a belief, and it's what I like to talk about is something that you believe other people should also believe. And then we talk about the justifications for your belief and the methods that you use to determine what's true. So at the end of the day, it's not really about your belief, it's about the epistemology, or the how you know what you know and how you determine what's true that underlies that. Is that anything that you've had experience with before?
Um, there's definitely a topic that comes to mind that I've had spoken to at length where I've had to I really understand my position and I can articulate it in whatever the conversation requires because I've had to be into that weeds of that topic so often.
Nice.
So
Excellent.
yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear what you want to talk about.
Sure. So my cornerstone, a big thing for me is infertility care, infertility services, IVF, all of that,
Okay.
IUI, anything and everything. A little more background on me. When I came to Expedia, I was all of 8 weeks pregnant, and that was after years of infertility. Ultimately,
Mhm.
my partner and I had to go through IVF to have our children, and it was a very long and lonely road. It is a group of people that you don't have a lot of visibility until maybe very recently. You just don't really hear about it. And so after my children and everything else, it was one of those, it was such a painful experience. I want to take that pain and turn that much pain into purpose as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And so I've run an infertility support group now. I've connected with tons of people. I've done interviews for national magazines, local magazines, podcasts, anything, everything, just talking about this topic. And again, just when you talk about it, you hear about it because people talk to you back about it, and you get that larger experience about this is why this is so important. I feel like everyone should be able to access this.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm sorry you had to go through that experience, but it sounds like you've gotten a lot of value out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I ask people why. Well, I mean, I guess I can still ask you this. Well, why is it important to you to help other people who are struggling with this?
It's a kind of a twofold thing. First of all, it's self-fulfilling because to have gone through everything I did, which felt like the hardest way possible,
Mhm.
I would like to reduce those barriers because it doesn't have to be that hard. I would like someone else to take the benefit of my experiences and reduce that for them because that gives me at least this wasn't all in vain, and it's made it a little bit easier for someone else. Not that my children aren't, this is a separate conversation. Their worth is not a lot of people will say well, were they worth the wait? And I'm like, they're not assigned value to this. This is not a cost benefit analysis of my children. They're not part of the conversation. The conversation is how we treat people and how we value their reproductive care and their health, or rather don't. And so for me, that's the conversation that I want to make a bigger conversation.
Mhm.
It's something that I need that for closure, for fulfillment. And then just the actual I think that we do as a society and everything else, we do want happy, healthy families. That is still something that we aspire for and think is overall a very good thing to people to have the children that they want and that they love. We should have access to that because that's still a generally big piece of who we are and people's identity.
So thinking about that, why is it important to help people um, have help people create families and have happy, healthy families? So you said this is something we should do.
Mhm.
First of all, do you consider that there's a range, kind of like if you're talking about a value, between it's just a personal interest, makes me feel good. In the middle, there's kind of it's a moral virtue, and on the other end, it's a moral duty. So where are you on that continuum in terms of you should help people?
Um, which is again such a complex topic at this point. So I don't think it's like a moral obligation where we're required to procreate, but it is definitely something that a lot of people aspire towards. That's why we say child free for those that choose not to have children. They are free. They are not less. They're not childless. They are child free,
Yeah.
and they have the freedoms that come with that. But for others, that is the fulfillment that they need. And for me, I uh, for me, there's no greater sign of optimism than choosing to have children, because you have confidence that this mud ball will continue to tick on and move on, and there will be someone here to inherit the earth. And
Hmm.
so when you hear about all the woes and scary things of the day and time and how awful things are, why would anyone have kids? Because we don't know if the planet will be inhabitable and all of that. There's no greater sign of optimism than continuing to have children in hopes that we will give them a world that they can take over. So for me, it's just very forward looking as to like society will move on, and
Hmm.
we deserve these nice things. We deserve to do good things and feel joy, no happiness.
Okay. Why do you believe that it's important to have a next generation to inherit the earth?
I mean, there's going to come a day and time where we're all the dinosaurs and we go extinct. But for me, it's just that optimism that maybe we'll branch out into the stars. Maybe we'll exist in perpetuity. Who knows what society will be like? It definitely won't be there if we just decide this is the end of us, is the end of existence. Like people want to have that nihilism. That's great. You're welcome to have that. That's not the mindset that I sit in. I want to hope that we go on in perpetuity. And this is one thing that I can do to contribute to that, but I also just do it for myself. Like this is something that children, family, that is something that I needed for my identity to feel whole and complete.
Yeah. So
So
if you
it's
were gonna,
a all over thing.
if we were going to do a pie chart, so let's,
Mhm.
we're back into
Sure.
Cal, and you've talked about how this is something that you want to do for your own personal closure, and you've talked about how it's important for us to have optimism about the future of the species.
Hmm.
What if we were going to graph that out, like which of those pie slices would be bigger in terms of the reasons that you believe that it's important to for people to have uh, be able to be fertile and we should help them.
It's one of those that if you the the toll it takes on your mental health when you are not able to access the resources that you know that you need, and it doesn't have to just be infertility care,
Yeah.
but when you cannot access that what you need, like that is when you start to get into that decline, that depression, that nihilism, that the why even go on living. I mean, you can get into some pretty self-deprecating and self-harming things when you don't have the care that you need.
Yeah.
And so for myself, that was the care that I needed to be whole and to helpful and to feel prosperous. And like once that need was meant for me, I wanted to go forth and make that need for everyone else, which means I think I want to help society, give these tools to everyone else that doesn't have access to them. Those that want them, I'm working to help them make sure that resource. So to break it down, like as a societal good versus like my personal intrinsic value, is that kind of our breakdown?
Yeah.
Um, most is like 70% I needed this for me. And the
Okay.
more I do this, the more like
That's
it
good.
grows for everyone else. Like the more I'm
Nice.
like, actually, this is good for everyone.
So why is helping yourself get closure a good reason to believe that you should provide help for others?
Because I think a lot of us want to feel like our life has purpose and it has meaning.
Mhm.
And for me, that this was not all, that my efforts are not wasted. Like I don't necessarily need to be remembered throughout all the time in history. I don't need to be immortalized, but to know that this it's the planting the seeds that you don't get to see grow. Like you don't get to see the future, but you know that you've helped push things forward in a
Mhm.
direction that will benefit all those that you care about, also that you're attached to. I don't know if that's the answer that you're looking for, but for me, it's about just like once I have that, like that's part of my fulfillment. It's a legacy.
Yeah. So you said something interesting there, which you said part of your fulfillment is helping others. So how important is it to you to feel good about the help that you're giving others?
It used to be very important. Well, actually, you know what? That's one thing I think is kind of a contrast for me. I don't necessarily get that dopamine and serotonin from being told I did a good job and everything.
Mhm.
Because I spent a lot of my life just not being acknowledged for my efforts. It was just, I was an unappreciated person to a point that like, I kind of just didn't need, I just don't need that. I don't need that validation to feel good about myself.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that like, because I never got that validation myself, because that need always went unfulfilled, I don't want others to have like other people don't also have to go unfulfilled. I can give them what I didn't have
Right.
and see if that's able to benefit them. Because I am fine. I'm in the best headspace I've ever been in my entire life. People can tell me I'm great or I'm awful or I'm the worst, I'm the best. Does not impact my overall sense of self and well-being. But if I can help someone else, give them what they have when I didn't, I'm happy to reduce those barriers.
Yeah. So this is an interesting area because I have conversations like this a lot, and so what I'm looking at is when I hear you talk about that, what I'm seeing is you have statements about your personal satisfaction, what makes you feel good. And then we move to helping others and helping them feel good. And what I'm trying to tease out is
Mm-hmm.
what's the thing that leads you from something that makes you feel good to something that helps others. And there's a lot of conversation in philosophy about altruism,
Mm-hmm.
and like it does altruism exist? Are we just doing things for selfish reasons and things like that? So I'm curious about your thoughts about why um, how do you get from I've done this for myself and it's really helped me to I'm helping others and maybe there's something about helping others that makes me feel good, but why is that a good reason to help people?
I don't know that I can give anybody the reason because I think that's where the altruism is.
Yeah.
It comes from inside. And for me, like I said, it's not necessarily done for the feel good. I think more than anything, it's a reduction in anxiety. It's not about feeling good, it's about feeling less bad.
Yeah.
Which is to say that people that have like I see them struggling and I'm like, oh, I've had those struggles. It doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
I'm anxious now because I have felt that anxiety, that sense of empathy. Let me do something altruistically where I don't necessarily get a benefit so much
Yeah.
as peace. I get peace. I get the reduction of anxiety by able to going forth and help people. And I'll help people in any context that I can. This is just where I'm
Yeah.
able to do some of the heaviest lifting.
So why is it that helping others um makes you less anxious? Like I heard you use the word empathy. I think that's an important thing. Where does empathy fit in this for you?
I think it's because I spent a lot of my like the more you that reflect about your life and everything else, while I did have a loving household, um, I don't know that I always had the attention and support that would have been a benefit to me. So I had to figure out a lot of it on my own.
Mm.
And it is that as I got older, I kind of like there are two people in this world. There are those that say, I did this, so you can too. And then there's like, I did this, and I don't want you to have to be this hard for you. And I don't want it to be like, because it was very hard. It's like, for me, I'm like, well, I just did this because I had to. People are like, well, no, this is amazing. These things you're doing. And I'm like, really? You say it's amazing, but I just did it because I didn't have a choice. There was no choice here.
Yeah.
But now you're telling me I can give other people choices that doesn't have to be this hard. Well, that sounds great because even if I can't change my circumstances, no one else has to go through what I've gone through, which isn't even to say like the deeply traumatic or awful, but I can give people what I didn't have. That's what that altruism is for
Yeah.
me. To know that someone else doesn't have to go through the same negative situations that I did or absent situations that I did.
Yeah. Which I think it sounds to me like that brings us back to that these things for you are they make you feel good, they reduce anxiety, they help you feel like you're contributing, which gives you pleasure and satisfaction. I'm still
Trying to connect a dot.
I'm still trying to connect the dots with and I think I could probably help connect the dots, but I'm trying to kind of probe and ask questions just
Sure. All right.
to help you do it.
See if you can
Like
tease it out. Yeah.
why is why is why is it for individuals or for you helping others important?
Why is it important? I like it. Makes me happy.
Okay.
I wish I could be more specific, but like I don't do it because I think that someone's going to owe me a favor down the line or
Yeah.
that I'll have my name written across buildings and things like that. I just, it's the thing that makes sure I don't slip into dark places again.
Yeah.
It keeps that stuff at bay. And that's important to me to want to keep on going.
Yeah, that's very valuable. So let me ask the flip side of that question. If tomorrow it stopped giving you joy to help others with their fertility, would you stop doing that because it stopped giving you pleasure?
I don't think that I would, because I look at a lot of work as necessary,
Mhm.
and very much I try to put forth my effort where I can, where I feel like I can do the most. And I know that's something that I can do a lot for, even if it wasn't something that was joy. Because for me, like I have like the deeply held belief, I don't think you should monetize hobbies.
Mhm.
Because as soon as you monetize it, it becomes work, and then it isn't something that you can
Oh,
enjoy
interesting.
anymore. So for me, the idea of like it's not fun anymore, it doesn't have necessarily have to be fun as long as it isn't something that brings forth like pain and misery in my life.
Yeah. So if if you stopped getting joy, let's say you got to that anxiety and peace and you said, I don't need to do this anymore. I'm satisfied. I've gotten my closure.
Mhm.
If getting to that point, and I apologize, that's a little bit
Mhm.
different from what we said a minute ago, right? I was
Sure.
saying like if it stopped giving you joy. But
Yeah.
tell me if it's unfair to make that change. But
Mhm.
if you got to the point where you felt peaceful, you felt closure, you were satisfied in yourself, if 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 that stage doesn't make you stop helping other people, then is that the real reason that you're helping other people?
Is that the only thing that gets me out of bed?
Well, is that the real? I'm trying to figure out if
Oh,
that's like it sounds from this conversation, it sounds like that's the real reason that you do all these things is it makes you feel peace.
yeah.
But if you get peace and you don't need to do that anymore to feel peace, you would keep doing it. Why would you keep doing it if you're doing it now because it gives you peace and satisfaction?
So one thing a skill you have to develop, and I think this is just part of maturing as well too, is like there are times that it is not fun, and it is not even fun the way like a sad situation happens so much as like I don't have it in me to support this right now.
Mhm.
And so it's burnout is among other things. And so there are periods of time
Yeah,
where I take a step back and I prioritize other things,
sure.
and I build the relationships with people that they understand that I have other priorities.
Hmm.
Um, and I built that confidence and that trust with other people. And I've also have confidence that I have built something that can sustain without me,
Yeah,
without my constant presence, constantly overseeing it. So there are times that it's just, especially when things get more and more charged and the needs become greater and all that, like I do what I can when I can, but there are times when it is just not my priority, that it is work and it is not fun. But
yeah,
I can stop to refill my cup. That makes me keep coming back to it. I've learned how to do that. So I don't ever see there being a moment like I can't do this anymore. This is taken, all the joy is gone in this from me, because I know how to give myself that time, that space to recharge and to
hmm
let others step in to help each other so I can get what I need to come back to it.
yeah.
So it's hard for me to answer that question because I can't fathom a time when I know how to do that. I know how to navigate that.
Sure. I'm thinking about I'm fabricating a situation, but I'm thinking about like you get that peace and you don't need to get that peace from
Hmm.
from helping others. Yet it sounds like you would still help others.
Oh yeah.
So it sounds like there's other reasons that
I
you
can
would use to decide
Sure.
to help others.
There's a continuous activism, and again, it just comes
Yeah,
from wanting to make sure that people have what they need to know joy. Because I get you have one life that you live, you have finite time. We don't know what happens after this, and
yeah.
so let's try to like maximize that experience
Hmm.
and give in reduce barriers, make sure people can go where they want to go, do what they want to do, etc.
Yeah. So are there other underlying values that you have, either maybe things that you were taught or ways that you were raised that point you towards helping others? Like maybe even if it's not, it sounds like maybe even if it's a sacrifice for you, right? You're not just doing it for that peace and satisfaction, but it's still important to help other people.
I mean, I was raised Roman Catholic, like most people, in Christian, raised in Christian faiths around here, and so obviously the idea put forward is very much to, place the needs of others before yourself and act selflessly and all of that. So yes, that was very much there. But more so like that's not a driving force. That was what I had to do. And when it
Mhm.
was no longer became an obligation, it became a choice. It is what I chose to do because even then I saw that like when you do something without because when you do that self-sacrificing, like I'm doing this for the greater good, you feel
Yeah.
you're owed a reward. And then that reward doesn't come,
Mhm.
and then you become bitter and you becomes destructive, and it
Yeah.
brings out really darkness in a lot of people. And I don't want to live that way. I see that, and I'm like, that is the path that I like. It's that anxiety. It's that I'm going to avoid that path. I don't want to do that. I'm going to
Yeah.
do this instead. I'm going to avoid those pitfalls. I want you to learn from my mistakes, and I'm learning from your mistakes because I just want us all to have as much stability and joy as possible.
Okay.
I don't know if that's getting you where you want.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it sounds like there's some underlying reasons there that maybe have to do with um I'm completely speculating here because, you've consistently come back to even in talking about things that came out of your Roman Catholic upbringing, you're still talking about, well, there's this dark place, and I don't want to go to this dark place, so I'm going to do this to keep me kind of feeling good and keep me satisfied. And I in no way am I trying to, right? I'm just probing for the reasons here, but I
Right.
think we're getting to some kind of core stuff around um or around kind of your motivations.
Well,
Um,
then maybe this will answer your question. So, what that all kind of comes back to, and why this is like, as much as I've engaged in other activism over the years,
hmm,
the reason why I come back to this is because with the whole infertility experience, there was, I had no control. You cannot just make yourself become pregnant.
yeah.
You can study for tests, you can work out, you can, get medical help, you can do, or there's lots of things that you can really have a huge influence on in your own life.
Mhm.
It doesn't make it easy, but there are things that you really can control more so than like it can be very hard. There's nothing I could do. I have a biological thing. Like there was no way this was no amount of studying. Like I actually graduated with my bachelor. Like I was going to school full time and working full time while going through fertility treatments. Graduated with honors because I poured everything I could into my
Wow.
school because that was all I could do. Like I could control this.
Yeah.
And that just puts you in this very, very dark hole. Like I cannot, and I never want to go back to that hole because of that principle of no control of not being able to do anything like that. I will do anything to stave off how bad that felt at that time.
That that is
Anything to
that
keep
is
that at
amazing
bay.
that you triumphed over that. Like, kudos. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, I think honoring that and paying that forward is a great thing.
But again, for me, it is to see that level of how unhappy I can be and how bad that felt and how just to get to that level of depression, nihilism, like I would do anything,
Yeah.
anything to stave off that feeling.
Yeah.
Again, is the reduction of anxiety because of just how bad that was and how I know that obviously it's worse for other people because we don't always have a happy ending. So let's stop. Let's not let that be everyone's outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Cool. Well, maybe that's a good place to wrap it
Sure.
up. Just to kind of give you a sense of some of my thought. Um, uh, there's I think some of the reasons that we have this deep sense of empathy, and you very clearly have a deep sense of empathy, right? You went through something very dark, and you really, really don't want other people to do that, and you know a way that you can help, and I think that's commendable and wonderful. But I think that in order to live as a society, right, we're a social species.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of we've evolved to support each other, right? So I think there are kind of um, deep knowledge that we have that we need to support each other in order to keep society alive. I'm not going to be alive if I don't have my society, and so helping others in my society helps strengthen my society, and that helps keep myself and the species alive. So I
It's
think
true.
that,
It
yeah,
can be very animalistic as just the lizard brain coming up in another way.
yeah. I mean, I think that really that drive to survive for the species as opposed to just us is probably very deeply held. But I
Sure.
think, yeah, I want to thank you for sharing your story. That's like Really, really powerful stuff. And yeah, it makes me tear up a little bit just
I
hearing
got
you
my
talk
feelings.
about it.
I got my feelings a little bit too, but yeah, I'm glad I took the opportunity to do this as well.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully it spurred some thoughts and yeah, got the juices flowing. Yeah,
I'll
I
keep talking about
enjoyed
it
it.
no matter what. So hopefully someone else finds this beneficial.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you as well. You have a good day, Nick.
Thanks, you too. You've been listening to Conversations on the Coast, a series from Washington State featuring civil conversations using street epistemology to explore what people believe and why. Find out more at streetepistemology.com.